Hello, everyone, and welcome to Representative Sidney Kamlager-Dove's live transportation and infrastructure telephone town hall. Congresswoman Kamlager-Dove and our guests, Congressman Tony Cárdenas, Caltrans District 7 Director Gloria Roberts, and LA Metro CEO Stephanie Wiggins are on the line with us now, and we'll speak to you in just a moment. But to start, we're glad you're tuning in tonight. In order for everyone to hear tonight's call, you are currently in listen-only mode. For the moment, that means you can hear us, but we can't hear you. But this is a live question and answer session, of course, so if you'd like to ask a question, you can press *3 on your phone's keypad. Again, *3 on your phone's keypad, and you'll be transferred to a representative who will take your name, where you're calling from, and your question. So again, that is *3 at any point to get in line to ask your question. So then you'll enter into the queue, and the next time you hear your name, you can ask it live. And also, if you stay up to date with if you'd like to stay up to date with Representative Kamlager-Dove's work on behalf of California's 37th District, please press *6 to sign up for her e-newsletter. So again, the e-newsletter is *6, and to ask a question is *3. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove. Congresswoman, you're on the line.
Thank you, Ryan, and hello, everyone. Welcome to our Transportation and Infrastructure Telephone Town Hall. Thank you for joining our discussion tonight, and I look forward to answering your questions on all things planes, trains, and automobiles. I also want to thank our special guests, including Congressman Tony Cárdenas, who serves as our region's Regional Leadership Council Chair. This means he works to ensure California is at the forefront of the Biden administration's efforts to implement historic laws enacted during the 117th Congress. Big money. We're also joined by Caltrans District 7 Director Gloria Roberts and LA Metro CEO Stephanie Wiggins, who do on-the-ground work to connect our communities here in Los Angeles. But before I turn it over to them, and we dive into all things transportation and infrastructure, I want to share some of what I've been working on in Congress. As vice-ranking member of the House Natural Resources Committee, I'm working to advance the climate priorities of our district, promoting climate resiliency, achieving environmental justice, and preserving our natural world, while fighting back against attempts to deregulate and drill from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. As a House Foreign Affairs Committee member, I am uniquely positioned to advocate for our vibrant diaspora communities and connect them with the resources needed to thrive. And at the end of last year, I signed my first bill into law, the Grateful Act, which provides visas for locally employed U.S. Embassy staff to immigrate to the U.S. after a career of service to the United States. Throughout it all, ensuring federal dollars flow equitably into Los Angeles communities has remained one of my top priorities. During the 2024 government funding process, I was thrilled to secure $12.4, that's like $13 million, for 15 community projects that will address a range of needs across our district. These investments will provide support services for at-risk and formerly incarcerated individuals, increase access to affordable housing, and help communities adapt to climate change. So I want to highlight 3 very relevant projects to tonight's call, as they will help create more climate-resilient infrastructure here in LA. So Slauson is going to receive $500,000 to help establish a community park in an area lacking access to open green spaces for undeserved communities. The South LA Community Foundation will receive $850,000 to help South LA and its surrounding neighborhoods mitigate and adapt to climate-related disasters. And I presented the check to them a couple weeks ago. It was amazing. And Avalon Gardens will receive $510,000 to upgrade its public housing facilities with new cool roofs to provide relief to residents during the hot summer months in LA. So I'm also working to ensure that federal funding reaches our district to tackle some of our most challenging transportation and infrastructure needs, hence the call tonight. You may have heard, but Democrats were busy last Congress. We passed landmark legislation to uplift communities nationwide, regardless of state or zip code. It was Democrats who passed the bipartisan infrastructure law to strengthen our nation's crumbling infrastructure, create millions of good-paying jobs, and reconnect communities divided by projects of the past. Democrats also passed the Inflation Reduction Act, the single largest investment in transportation electrification in U.S. history. I can't believe I'm actually calling myself to join the town hall. I love it. Democrats, so we've been feeling the impact of these historic investments at home. I know you all see all the Teslas driving around, so it may come as no surprise that California leads the nation in electric vehicle adoption. Our state has a bold plan to ensure all new vehicles sold are zero emission by 2035. But we know that we cannot achieve this ambitious goal alone, and we also know that we have to make Teslas and all other kind of EV vehicles affordable. So thanks to the bipartisan infrastructure law, California is going to receive nearly $340 million, y'all, to build our electric vehicle infrastructure, which means more charging stations and expanded grid capacity. And thanks to IRA, these clean energy vehicles are more affordable when utilizing tax credits that can save folks up to $7,500 when buying a new EV and $4,000 when purchasing a used one. So tragically, LA County has the highest concentration of roadway fatalities in the nation. To address this issue, our state's going to receive almost $140 million in federal funding to create 14 miles of bus priority lanes on 4 corridors and implement mobility hubs. By separating bike and pedestrian infrastructure, the project is going to reduce collisions by an estimated 49%, okay, directly benefiting almost 1 million Angelenos, saving lives. Over the next 5 years, California is going to receive $10.3 billion in funding to improve public transportation across the state. And so this money is going to help expand healthy, sustainable transportation options in California, where non-white households are 1.6 more likely to commute using public transportation, okay? And 18% of transit vehicles are currently past useful life. They need to retire. We need new vehicles, new fleets. So I know we're all excited about the 2028 Summer Olympics and all the other sporting events that are coming to LA, okay? All-Star Games, Super Bowl, World Cup. I was proud to help secure $900 million in federal funding for the LA region to support transportation and infrastructure projects ahead of LA 28. And Congressman Tony Cárdenas also played a very pivotal role. I'm sure he'll talk about that. So to right the wrongs of the past, I am fighting to ensure this funding reconnects and rebuilds communities that were divided by transportation projects decades ago. Think Dodger Stadium, think the 10 freeway, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm also working to ensure that LA small businesses are the ones that benefit from the increased economic activity with all of these gains. Ahead of voting yes on the bipartisan Federal Aviation Administration Reauthorization Act of 2024, I met with local members of the aviation workforce to ensure this legislation met their needs. They have great workforce training programs at places like West LA College and other community colleges across the county. So I was pleased that this legislation included investments to maintain American leadership in aviation safety, because I'm on a plane a lot, and I see a whole bunch of other people on the plane, and everybody wants to be safe. So it's about aviation safety, aerospace innovation, improving consumer protections. You want to get those refunds when those planes get canceled, and strengthening and diversifying the aviation workforce. The last piece is key. LA is one of the busiest airports in the country, let alone the world, and it's a key economic driver for our state, generating jobs. So to summarize everything I just said, California is the best. It's amazing. It's a hub for transportation and infrastructure. So when it's time to ask questions, please press *3 if you have a question, and then please press *6 if you want to sign up for the newsletter. And now I'm going to turn it over to my friend and colleague from the Valley, Congressman Tony Cárdenas.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager-Dove. As you notice, she's got a tremendous amount of energy. I've been representing my area there in the San Fernando Valley for 28 years, and I still try to catch up to her every single day that we're up here in Washington fighting for you. I also want to say thank you for inviting me to tonight's Tele-Town Hall. And also, I'd like to say how honored I am to be joined with these other two powerful, amazing women, Stephanie Wiggins, who heads LA Metro, heads it. She works there, but she is the main person there. And Gloria Roberts from Caltrans. She runs her district here in Southern California. And also the Regional Leadership Council is one of the titles that I've been bestowed by our Democratic leader, Hakeem Jeffries, in the House of Representatives. He created this Leadership Council to advance House Democrats' mission to ensure that America maintains the most competitive and resilient economy of the 21st century. He wants to make sure that no area, no region in the country is left out, and that every single district, congressional district, especially here in Southern California, gets its fair share. The region that Kamlager-Dove and I are members of is Region 1, and it goes all the way from Kern County all the way through San Diego County, Southern California. And also I want to make sure that everybody understands that we're working to make sure and ensure everyone has accessible, equitable access to transportation regardless of their income or what neighborhood they're from. One of the most significant projects coming to Los Angeles region is the East San Fernando Valley Light Rail Transit Project in my district, which is a 6.7-mile southern segment with 11 new transit stations, and it's a $3.6 billion state, local, and federally funded project. With substantial local funding from LA Metro, and support from the Federal Transportation Administration, I look forward to joining my colleagues, including Senator Alex Padilla, our United States Senator for California. He grew up right here in Los Angeles as well. Also joined with CEO Stephanie Wiggins from LA Metro and countless of other leaders in the community on the groundbreaking later on this year. We're also ensuring culturally competent outreach goes to every community. In the past, unfortunately, communities and neighborhoods didn't know what was coming. Even if it was a good project, they had no input. But now, today, we make sure that the community has input about what takes place in their neighborhood, especially these phenomenal improvements. We'll remain committed to equitable access to transportation all throughout every community, especially low-income communities where they're hard-working Americans sending their tax dollars to their state, local, and federal government. We're making sure that those billions of dollars are directed back to your community, whether it's your local airports for safety purposes, electric vehicles, public transportation, and major infrastructure projects. Let me give you another example of what Kamlager-Dove and I have been able to do just in the last couple of years. We made sure that we put the money in the hands of the administration, the Biden-Harris administration, and here's some round numbers. For airports in our region, we have brought over $10 billion in airport projects to our region. When it comes to safety issues, we brought over $4 billion with a B in safety measures. Electric vehicles, buses, and ferries, over $600 million, and we're just getting warmed up. Public transportation, we brought over $2.5 billion. When it comes to roads, bridges, and major projects, over $32 billion. And like I said, Congresswoman Kamlager-Dove and the rest of us are just getting warmed up. We're working really hard to make sure that we bring more and more of your hard-earned tax dollars back to your neighborhood. It's about creating a transportation system that serves everyone, advances equity, and supports our environmental goals as well, to make sure that we have a future of transportation that will support the economies of our children and their children, and that's what we've been working on. And again, tonight is an opportunity for you to ask some questions to some of the experts here. And once again, thank you for inviting me. So back to you, Congresswoman.
Congresswoman, if you're still on the line, you might be muted.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I just want to thank Congressman Tony Cárdenas and to reiterate that his role on the Regional Leadership Council is really about making sure that the dollars that are coming in from these historic pieces of legislation really get allocated in the most appropriate ways across California. So what kind of infrastructure? Are we talking about highways? Are we talking about fleets? How much more money we need? What about the ports? So he's really been at the table helping California figure it out. If you have any questions for the congressman or me or the next two speakers, please press *3. Now we're going to hear from Gloria Roberts, who is the Region 7 Director for Caltrans. So take it away, Gloria.
All right. Thank you very much, Congresswoman Kamlager-Dove, and thank you for the invitation to be a part of this telephone town hall. Transportation and infrastructure are integral to all of our lives, and we appreciate you for making the space for us to have this conversation. We also thank Congressman Cárdenas for your leadership and service in making sure that California is prioritized in investments that come from the national level. So as the District 7 Director for the California Department of Transportation, also known as Caltrans, I have a broad responsibility to lead Caltrans' efforts in Los Angeles and Ventura counties in keeping our highways and freeways safe and accessible for all modes of travel. At Caltrans, we frame our work through a people-centered approach, looking at how transportation serves people, communities, and businesses. Our transportation programs and projects are centered around our core 4 foundational pillars of safety, equity, climate action, and economic prosperity. Of our core 4, safety is definitely our #1 priority. Caltrans is dedicated to preserving the health and safety of the traveling public, as well as those who work on the state highway system, whether they're state employees or our contractors. Our goal is to reduce highway fatalities from the current average of 12 lives lost per day to 0 fatalities by 2050. Climate action is also another foundational pillar. As we maintain and improve our infrastructure, we are designing a climate-resilient system that can withstand the challenges of climate change. And central to Caltrans' climate action portfolio is our commitment to supporting the growth of mode shift to transit, bicycling, and pedestrian modes of travel. We are continuously looking for opportunities to work with our partners to accelerate that shift. The foundational pillar of equities is also critical to our success. Everyone, regardless of where they live, where they come from, should have access to transportation services. Equity applies to what and where we build and maintain, and where we do all of our work. We consider every community, every neighborhood, and every economic status. That's the Caltrans way. And our final pillar of the core 4 is economic prosperity. Caltrans itself acts as a catalyst for economic growth and job creation. We also support the freight and goods movement that moves through our region. We work to provide opportunities through our outreach efforts to small businesses and through our Mentor Protege program. And so as we continue our work to maintain our infrastructure, some of the major initiatives that we're taking on in the next few years are safety initiatives along Pacific Coast Highway and other corridors throughout the region, preparing for athletic events coming to Southern California, such as the World Cup, Super Bowl, and the Olympic and Paralympic Games, and working on how we're going to best move athletes, workers, and spectators, but also making sure that regular business and residences can still operate. We also have the replacement of the Vincent Thomas Bridge deck, which is a $700 million project that is funded by the Federal Infrastructure and Investment and Jobs Act. So we are quite busy, and we all do this work with the strong partnerships that we have with our partners such as LA Metro, LA DOT, SCAG, FHWA, and the myriad neighborhood councils and councils of government, and especially our elected partners. And so I thank you for having us here today, And I turn this back to you, Congresswoman.
Thank you very much, Gloria. And so now we are going to hear from the CEO of Metro, Stephanie Wiggins, who is working hard every day to keep folks safe and keep us moving. Once again, if you have any questions for any of the panelists, please hit *3 to get your question in the queue. Okay, so take it away, Stephanie.
Thank you, Congresswoman Kamlager-Dove, for inviting me to participate in this telephone town hall. I also want to start by recognizing your leadership, as well as Representative Cárdenas. Thank you for lifting up cultural competency. It's been inspired by your decades of service. And of course, my partner in good, Caltrans District 7 Director Gloria Roberts. Now, the progress that we have made to date, bringing better transit to the people of LA County, would not have been possible without the support and leadership of our LA County congressional delegation. I do, Congresswoman, want to give a quick shout out to all the residents of District 37 who are Metro employees. About 1,200 people from your district work at Metro, Congresswoman, and we couldn't do everything we do without them. I also want to give a special shout out to a very special resident of CD 37, Alberto Tellez, who works in our rail fleet maintenance department. He's our employee of the month for June. Congratulations, Alberto. So I had the opportunity a few months ago to spend time with Congresswoman Kamlager-Dove and a few community leaders as we rode the bus lines 28 and 210 throughout the congressional district to see the transit improvements we're making in your neighborhoods. Over the past few years, we've made some major improvements in the district, including the all-new K-line, which opened in 2022, and will soon provide you a direct rail connection to LAX. We're also giving you faster and more reliable rail service. Late last year, we increased the frequency of the E-line, so it now runs 8 minutes during the peak period and 10 minutes during the off-peak period 7 days a week. We also recently increased the frequency of the K-line, so it runs every 10 minutes during the peak and off-peak, also 7 days a week. And we've been working hard to install bus priority lanes on key corridors to speed up bus service. Bus priority lanes were delivered last June on Venice Boulevard on line 33 between Inglewood Boulevard and Culver Boulevard. And we're also working on bus priority lanes on Florence, Vermont, La Brea, and Olympic, among several other corridors. Now, while all these improvements are great, nothing we are working on is more important than addressing public safety on the Metro system. As many of you know, tragically, we had an incident last Friday night where one of our Metro passengers was shot on the E-line at the Los Angeles station after an altercation that began on the street below the platform. And regrettably, just today, another person was stabbed on the J-line coming down the stairs. Now, hear me, these senseless acts of violence in our city streets are heartbreaking and frustrating. And our sympathies go out to the victims, their family, and friends. And our sympathies also go out to my frontline workers who actually witnessed this, and the customers who witnessed these senseless acts of violence as well. Now, we continue to work with LAPD as they track down the perpetrators of these crimes, and we're taking action to surge our law enforcement and transit security personnel onto our system in line with our 3-step plan to immediately improve safety and help people feel more safe on the system. The first of those 3 areas is we are increasing the number of uniformed visible presence on our system. Transit security, Metro ambassadors, law enforcement, both on our buses and trains, to improve the ability to quickly identify and respond to issues and deter crime before it happens. Second, we're enhancing access control. We hear a lot about from our writers about fare evasion and enforcement of the rules to keep everyone safe on our system. We've been working on improvements to our fare gates. We're piloting other improvements at our stations to really ensure that the system is used solely for the purposes of transit. And third, we are stepping up our partnerships with social service agencies to get at the core societal issues that affect our system. That is homelessness, untreated mental illness, and drug addiction. Now, all of these elements working together are helping to keep our system safe, and we see that in the numbers, but we know much more needs to be done. So this week, we're introducing a plan to bring our law enforcement services in-house so we can better deliver safety on our system. That plan will be heard by our board on Thursday, and I'll close my opening comments by saying Los Angeles has a great opportunity to leverage our investments, particularly at the federal level, in public transportation to create a better, more mobile, and more equitable community for all its residents. It was great to hear Congresswoman Kamlager-Dove and Congressman Cárdenas really highlight some of the significant historic federal investments that are really going to create a more equitable, accessible system for everyone. Just know this, we at Metro will never stop working to deliver a safe, clean, reliable, comfortable, and easy ride for everyone who goes Metro. So thanks again, Congresswoman, for inviting me to this conversation, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Congresswoman,
so now,
if you...
Yeah,
Yep.
we're going to head into the questions now.
Let's go into questions. First, we do want to take a poll question from the audience. It's an interactive poll, but we will be going to Rebecca out of Culver City. So Rebecca, just give us a moment. We're going to ask an interactive poll for everyone listening, and then we'll go ahead and bring you live. So the poll question is, what are you most interested in learning more about tonight? So for the folks that are listening, you can press 1 on your phone's keypad for the transition to clean energy transportation. Press 2 on your phone's keypad for improving road and bridge infrastructure. Press 3 on your phone's keypad if it's infrastructure for upcoming major sporting events. Press 4 on your keypad if it's federal funding available for infrastructure. And press 5 on your keypad if it's increasing safety on public transportation. I'll read the poll question again one more time, and again, we encourage your participation just punching the corresponding key on your keypad. So again, the question is, what are you most interested in learning about more tonight? The transition to clean energy transportation, press 1. Improving road and bridge infrastructure, press 2. Infrastructure for upcoming major sporting events, press 3. Federal funding available for infrastructure, press 4. And increasing safety on public transportation, press 5. It's going to take about 30 to 45 seconds for those results to tabulate. So thank you for participating. And remember, press *3 on your phones if you'd like to get in line to ask a question, *3, and *6 on your phone if you'd like to sign up for the Congresswoman's e-newsletter, *6. So again, *3 to get in line to ask a question live, *6 to sign up for the Congresswoman's e-newsletter. Okay, Rebecca, Culver City, you're live, and it appears this question is going to be pertaining to Congressman Cárdenas. So, Rebecca, you are live. Go ahead with your question.
Hi, thank you so much, Congresswoman, for choosing my question and for hosting this telephone town hall. So my question is for Congressman Cárdenas. Do you think California is getting its fair share of federal funding for transportation and infrastructure projects? Thanks so much.
Thank you for your question, and that's a great question because as taxpayers, you deserve to know what that answer is and whether or not we are getting our fair share. I believe that we are getting our fair share. For example, when it comes to airport safety, electric vehicles, public transportation, roads, bridges, and major projects, the things that I outlined a few minutes ago, that adds up to, more than $50 billion with a B that has come to our region. That doesn't even include the other half of California. So yes, we are getting our fair share, but like I said earlier, Congresswoman Kamlager-Dove is putting a lot of energy to making sure that not only her district, but the region actually gets its fair share as well, and I'm doing the same. So I can answer you very wholeheartedly, yes, we're getting our fair share. It doesn't always happen, but we are working really hard to make sure that not only we demand, but we proved to everybody how important it is that when Southern California gets its fair share, not only Southern California is better off for it, the entire region of the United States is better for it. So yes, over $50 billion so far of the money that we've been able to bring since we put into the administration just in the last few years, and we're just getting warmed up. Thank you.
Thank you for that reply, and thanks for that question. And by the way, for the hosts and the audience, the answer to the poll question, what are you most interested in learning more about tonight? 14% for the transition to clean energy transportation, 23% for improving road and bridge infrastructure, 4% for infrastructure for upcoming major sporting events, 11% for federal funding availability for infrastructure, and 48%, so this one was by far the most requested option, was increasing safety on public transportation. So we'll all note that. And remember, everyone on the line, *3 gets you in line to ask a question at any time, and *6 gets you in line to sign up for the Congresswoman's e-newsletter. Congresswoman, this next question, it looks to be for you. It is from Carlos out of Los Angeles. Carlos, you are live. Go ahead with your question.
Right now.
Carlos out of LA, are you on the line? Can you hear us okay?
No.
I will.
She took it off. She had it. Hi, how you doing? Sorry.
No worries,
Carlos.
Good, how you doing? Good. My question is, back to the front about the electric cars. How is this going to work for people that can't afford to buy them or don't have the credit to get them? And what's going to happen to the vehicles we have now that take gas in the future? I mean, that's a big question that everybody I know that can't afford electric cars has.
Right. Well, that's a great question, Carlos. So it's a big question, too. So first I want to say that under this big legislation, it's going to invest $7.5 billion to build the first ever national network of electric vehicle charges in the United States. So you can't have an electric car if you can't charge it. So that's really important. And California is actually going to get $390 million to help us build this EV charging station across the state. Now, the other thing is, you can't charge nothing if you can't afford to get the car. That is true, Carlos. So there are a number of rebates and incentive programs in the state of California to encourage people to buy them. I remember when I was in the legislature, they had a grant program, I think it was through AQMD, where you could actually get a grant of up to 95% of the cost of the car to help you purchase it. There's also something called the Clean Vehicle Rebate Project and the Clean Cars for All program. So these are state programs, okay? They're state incentives that go along with federal tax credits to help you purchase a car. So Clean Cars for All, Google that, and then Clean Vehicle Assistance Program, Google that, and that's going to share with you information on how you can get these rebates to help you get a car. Now, you already have a car, it's a gas guzzler. That's true. You're going to have to decide if you want to keep it or if you want to sell it or get rid of it or whatever. So none of this impacts that car. None of this impacts that gas car. And so that's the other answer to the question. But if you're looking to buy an electric car, there are rebate programs to help you do it. So also, beginning January of last year, if you actually bought a qualified used electric car, because sometimes the used cars are cheaper than the new ones, for $25,000 or less, you could get a used clean vehicle tax credit for up to $4,000. So essentially, you could get a tax credit for up to $4,000 if you bought a used EV car. And then if you look at the Clean Cars for All or the Clean Vehicle Rebate Assistance Program, it will tell you how you can get free money or assistance to help you buy a new car.
Thank you. I'd like, if you don't mind, this is Congressman Cárdenas. I'd like to add to that. See, a lot of taxpayers are skeptical that there's some tricks. Let me tell you, there's no tricks here. And you outlined many of the rebates and many of the opportunities very well. And it's not an either or. It's not like if you take advantage of the federal rebate of $7,500, you can't take advantage of the state and or the South Coast Air Quality Management. It's one on top of the other on top of the other, okay? So those incentives are specifically designed to make sure that if you're not a high-income person, you work every day, you're a blue-collar worker, et cetera, you can actually add all of those rebates, and then all of a sudden you realize that I can afford to buy this electric vehicle or this electric plug-in hybrid, et cetera. So I just wanted to say, no tricks, people. We got the state, the federal, and the local authorities working together to add to your ability to afford that kind of car. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Yes, next in line, we have Robert. Robert has a question about, well, there's actually three. So I'm just going to bring Robert live and let him ask his questions. Robert, you're live.
Hello. Can you all hear me okay? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi.
Yes,
So, yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Hi. So I'm a student. I go to Santa Monica College. I use the LA Metro regularly. First and foremost, I'm concerned about some of the new parks that are being constructed in South LA. My godfather, Ed Guerin, serves on the Voices Neighborhood Council, and one thing that we desperately need in LA is more green space. I'm not sure if the Congresswoman has been to the Vermont Square Park, but that is a perfect example of what parks should look like in the South LA area. I'm concerned about a lot of these new parks that are being constructed because the neighborhood council saw the plans for a new park being constructed that has this giant metal fencing around it, and it makes it look like a prison yard. And the neighborhood council told the Parks and Rec, the city, we don't want this fencing. And I feel like a lot of the construction costs for these new parks in the South LA area is because of this giant wrought iron fencing that makes the parks look super uninviting, and it kind of defeats the purpose of the park. We need more green spaces that are inviting and don't have fencing. We want people to be able to come in and enjoy the parks. At the Vermont Square Park, like there's always like kids there. There were kids playing soccer at the last neighborhood council meeting. So like we want to see more of that in our parks. We need inviting green spaces. Secondly, I would also love to see more shade structures along the Vermont corridor, which I take regularly to go from Vermont and Slauson to Santa Monica College. And I would also love to see the possibility of metro trains having the right of way along the entire route, especially in the Pico area where the A line and the E line meet. I think the people that'll be coming to Los Angeles for the World Cup and the Olympics, I feel like they want to see like, wow, LA has transit. Like we don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on Ubers to go all over the city. Like we can actually take the train. And I feel like, imagine someone coming from Tokyo and they're sitting on the E line and they're stuck in traffic because the trains have to stop for the cars to pass and stuff like that. I feel like it kind of defeats the purpose of having, transit. And I'd love to see, like in the future, like all the LA Metro lines, particularly the E line and A line, essentially having the kind of throughout the whole route, because it would make the travel time between Santa Monica and downtown LA about like 20 to 30 minutes faster. But yeah, and one other thing I'd like to add too, for the congressmen and the LA Metro people that are here today, please, for the love of God, don't pick the monorail option for the Sepulveda Pass project. It would be completely inefficient. We need the heavy rail option that has the station directly under UCLA. That would be the most efficient to people in the Valley and in West LA. So please do not go for the monorail option. Please go for the heavy rail option. Don't let the rich NIMBYs and Bel Air ruin this super important project. Thank you. Sorry, that was a lot.
Thank you, Robert. It was a lot, but it was good information. And I love the fact that you're so invested in the community, especially South LA. So I'm going to take the first part of what I heard you talk about, and then I'm going to kick it over to Stephanie Wiggins, who can address some of the metro questions. I hear you about more green space and also more green canopy space. When I first actually came into the legislature, I took an aerial tour of the district and noticed that the farther south I went, I saw grayscapes. It was all concrete. But the further north and the further northwest I went, I could hardly see the small businesses or the homes because of all of the green canopies. And that showed me the importance of, not just green spaces and having more recreational parks, but it also talks about the importance of having more green canopies, especially through South LA. Over the weekend, I was at Western and just south of Jefferson, and actually like west and Western for Ciclavia. And it was hot. It was hot as hell because there were no trees on the street. And this is what we need to be investing in. Years ago, then Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa had his 1 Million Trees project. I think that was kept alive with Mayor Eric Garcetti. And I know that Mayor Karen Bass has a commitment to this as well, although we know that her number one priority is housing and homelessness. I was fortunate to get some community funding projects funded in my first term. We got $500,000 to actually go to proposed green space along the La Cienega, Fairfax, Bayona Creek area. We have gotten funding for the Slauson Connect, which is as much about pedestrian mobility and cycling, commuter cycling, as it is about more green space. Many of the question you answered about the fencing, you don't want the parks to look like prisons. I mean, that's what I felt like I heard you say. That is true. That actually is a local issue, and I think that's incredibly important for neighborhood council members to bring forward to their city council members because we don't want our green spaces to be walled off from the community. But I'm going to make a note, Robert, and share what you said to the council offices that are in my district so they know what's up. So, Stephanie, I don't know if you want to add anything to the Metro question.
Yes, ma'am, if I can. First, Robert, thank you for being a Metro writer. Really appreciate that. I want to tell you, number one, share your vision about speeding up the A and E lines from Santa Monica to downtown. When the I-10 freeway collapsed, we worked with Gloria, Robert, and the state and the federal government, not only to get that back in operation, but in the meantime, we temporarily partnered with LADOT to speed it up. Now, because of that success, we're working with the city DOT to actually get those improvements and installing new traffic signals that will better prioritize the trains by 2027, so before the Olympics. So stay tuned for that. And then in closing, I just want to lift up the point about the shelters. And Congresswoman, you talked about Ciclavia, and it was extremely hot. I want to acknowledge for the audience the importance of having effective federal advocates. Both you, Congresswoman, as well as Congressman Cárdenas, has supported our LA County bus shelter initiative through congressionally directed spending. That's going to be transformational in really helping accelerate bus shelters. Vermont, our favorite, Congresswoman, Vermont's corridor, because it is the busiest bus corridor in LA County. We have plans through our BRT project that we hope to get federal support for as well to install bus shelters. But in the meantime, the city DOT, LADOT, through local return that the voters of LA County have voted to tax themselves, that passes through Metro, that local return money is planned to be spent in particular along the Vermont corridor to improve bus shelters. So stay tuned for that. The climate emergency, Robert, dictates that we've got to get bus shelter for our most vulnerable and to improve transit accessibility. So thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Okay.
Okay, Ryan.
All right, so next, we have an online question for Gloria. It says, South LA in the Northeast SF Valley have some of the most dangerous streets in LA. In South LA, cyclists are twice as likely to get in a traffic collision than the rest of the city. How can Caltrans accelerate safe streets infrastructure?
So thank you very much for the question. And I've talked a little bit about how we are working on expanding, multimodal options, not just focusing on vehicular travel, but really wanting to make sure that our system also provides safe access for bicyclists and pedestrians. And so we have a Caltrans Active Transportation Plan, what we call a CAP plan, and it's centered around location-based needs. And so in our state program of funding, we have about over 200,000 linear feet of new bicycle and pedestrian enhancements that are identified in our 10-year plan, which includes project initiation documents for Class 4 bikeways along SR1, bus bike only lanes across PCH and the beach cities in the South Bay, and that's a shared transit bike lane, and is being developed in partnership with LADOT as part of their Vision Zero priority corridors. We're also looking at combined transit and bike-only lanes over 2.8 miles of state route between Centinela and the Sawtell neighborhood in Ewing and Silver Lake. And so that's on the state side. In speaking a little bit about the federal funding that comes to CD 37, just in the last cycle, there is a federal program, the Safe Streets for All, which are grants funded by the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act. And so with that, the County of Los Angeles was awarded almost $4 million in federal funding to basically update the county's Vision Zero action plan and to really look at improving road safety with a focus on the most vulnerable users and populations. But in terms of the quick build, the Safe Streets for All also awarded to SCAG $12 million, SCAG being the Southern California Association of Governments. And that funding will go towards developing a regional safety action plan. And that includes also expanding the Go Human Safety program, which includes piloting local safety campaigns for complete streets. Then that includes making sure that we have safe bike and pedestrian facilities. And this program also offers the ability to pilot quick build demonstration activities through a competitive call for applications, and that uses an equity-centered prioritization methodology. So as you can see, both on the state and federal side, we have quite a few initiatives that are moving towards providing a safe system for cyclists. Thank you for the question.
Great. So, Stephanie, I want to know, because this has come up, Stephanie Wiggins, how are we making Metro safer? And will the Metro connect to the airport? And do trains run 24/7? So I've asked you 3 questions because these are questions that have come from folks, and I want to make sure that we get them in before the end of the Tele-Town Hall. So how are we making the Metro safer? Will the Metro connect to the airport? Lord, please say yes. And will trains run 24/7?
Okay, let me take the last one first. So trains do not run 24/7. We have to have time to maintain the trains, et cetera. So we do not have 24/7 train service. As it relates to connecting to the airport, yes. We're opening the Airport Metro Connector, again, thanks to the voters of LA County this fall. And of course, LAX's People Mover is to open in 2025. So we will be able to provide direct transit connections to LAX. And then third, what are we doing to make it safer? So immediately what we've done is we've added more people on the system to really be able to respond more quickly to incidents. We have added improvements to our fare gates, particularly at the North Hollywood station that we're piloting out, people tapping in and tapping out of our system, which is helping to ensure that people are on our system for the intended purpose of transit. And third, we've actually increased homeless outreach engagement services to provide services so that people also won't shelter on our system. That's the immediate. For the for the more medium term, what we're looking at is technologies. What type of technologies the board has asked us to look at, whether it's the type of technologies that can help better detect weapons on our system, because we want to get weapons off of our system. We'll be looking at other ways technology can help us more quickly identify, enhancing our cameras. We have more than 30,000 cameras on our bus and rail system to identify issues and address them directly. And of course, on the longer term, what we are looking at is the ability to actually develop our own in-house transit public safety department. It is not unusual for large transit agencies across the country. 6 of the top 10 have their own in-house department. We believe that's a longer-term solution to address the safety challenges we have today.
Great, thank you. So, Gloria, I don't want you to feel left out. I have some questions for you. What's being done about traffic congestion, and then what's being done to clean up along the highways? And I don't mean the people that is on probation and doing community service. And I will say I got a question from City Council District 1 about this too. So what's happening with the cleanup along the freeways, the highways, and then traffic congestion?
Sure thing. And so it's never ending in terms of the task to remove graffiti, debris, overgrown vegetation, and encampments. We certainly feel that it is definitely unsafe for individuals to be living on the state right-of-way. And so we have a CSR, what we call a customer service request system, and it's csr.dot.ca.gov, where anybody can put in requests when they see the need for us to do work, any of the work on the state highway system. And just in CD 37, we have received about 272 customer service request tickets just between January and June in the Congresswoman's district, and a majority of those are for graffiti and landscaping encampments. And so we obviously work closely with our law enforcement officials and as well as the cities and counties to make sure that we provide the necessary services so that we can relocate individuals to appropriate housing. And then also we have a lot of work that's being done on a daily basis to maintain and beautify our highways. We also had a state program that actually provided monies for a Clean California program, and those were projects in District 37 to basically beautify the state's right-of-way. And as regards for relieving congestion, we're very fortunate in the LA region to have express lanes on the 10 and 110, and pricing of the express lanes, that also helps us with moving traffic. There's an option for folks to be able to pay for the trip reliability that the express lanes provide that Metro operates on the 10 and 110. We also, in our region, we are working to really encourage folks as part of climate action is to, promote transit. And so we are fortunate in that we have a very robust regional transportation network with the rail and bus services that Metro provides. And I believe like ridership is almost about 1 million riders a day now. And so we also have the regional rail network through Metrolink and also with all the other municipal transit operators. But in terms of congestion, we just encourage folks to carpool to find other modes of transportation, and which is why the funding that supports transit is also so important, as well as the funding just to maintain the roads and highways that we have here. As you know, LA is very, very built out, and so we are really looking forward to the investments that we can make to move folks towards other modes of travel. And so we're really thankful for the partnerships and the supports that we have through our elected officials and through our communities.
Great. Thank you, Gloria. So I want to just say we have over 7,700 attendees trying to get some information from all y'all on transportation and infrastructure. So I count that as a success. And I'm also going to turn it back over to Ryan because he's the moderator and he knows more about this system than me.
Well, it's easy to say. That's the end of our Q&A, and we're simply going to pass it over to you, Congresswoman, for closing remarks.
I knew you were going to say that. Well, I want to give a shout out to Congressman Tony Cárdenas for all of the great work he's been doing, and also a shout out to Caltrans and Gloria Roberts and Metro's CEO Stephanie Wiggins. You know, I also just want to say thank you to everybody for joining. There were probably so many questions that folks had that you weren't able to ask, but we will make sure that we get those answers to you with staff who follow up. You know, the 90 freeway is not going nowhere. We are going to continue to invest in green and clean infrastructure and in community green spaces. You know, this year, Republicans did us dirty with the community funding projects, and they wouldn't allow us to help support nonprofit organizations, but they did say we could support essentially other governments. And so in my district, we were working to get proposals from LA County, LA City, and Culver City to help with infrastructure. A lot's been happening in Culver City with regards to bike lanes, pedestrian mobility, greening their bus fleets. We've also worked to bring the Army Corps of Engineers into the district to talk about the river and the bike trail going from Culver City into LA. We are trying to modernize the infrastructure that we have so that people can walk across the street safely. We found funding in South LA because actually South LA, and I got to go, but South LA has some of the worst pedestrian crosswalks in the country, and we found some money to help pedestrians safely walk across the street. People are getting run over trying to go to church. So I just want you to know that I'm committed to you all, deeply committed to serving you all. If you have any questions, call my office at 323-965-1422. You can also visit my website at https://Kamlager-Dove.house.gov. Thank you again for staying on the line for this hour to talk all things transportation and infrastructure. We got to keep it going because we got to be ready for 25, 26, 27, and 28 when the time. Thank you again, and good night, all.